Hey, this is Zach Galligan, and you're watching Prequel, Sequel, Requel, Gremlins.
Hello, welcome to Prequel, Sequel, Requel, the show where we pick a film and give it a prequel, a sequel, and a requel. On this episode, we're doing Gremlins. Let's meet who's talking with us today. We've got Abby Standish.
Hello, hi.
Noel Curry.
Hello.
Myself, Chris Lumb. Hello. Tom King.
Hello.
And Eddie French.
Hello.
It's time to listen to those rules. Don't get them wet.
What rules? Oh, those rules.
Yeah.
Prequel. Establish the law. Sequel. Then give us some more. Prequel. Not the same as before. Prequel, sequel, requel.
Don't ever get it wet. Keep it away from bright light, and no matter how much it cries, no matter how much it begs, never, ever feed it after midnight. With these instructions, young Billy Peltzer takes possession of his cuddly new pet. Billy will get a whole lot more than he bargained for. The rules are the same, but the laughs are bigger and the thrills are better. This time, Billy and everyone's favourite Mogwai Gizmo must face off against a new batch of gremlins that definitely think New York is their kind of town. Okay, it's time for the prequels, so we're going to start off with, I think we'll start with Noel.
Sure.
Okay, what have you got for us, Noel, your prequel to Gremlins?
I am focusing on the dad character, so it's kind of his story from when he was a kid, about 30 years previously in that little American town that we all saw.
Kingston Falls.
And he's kind of into the idea of inventing, but he doesn't really know what he wants to do yet. Mm-hmm. And one night he sees some old geezer doing some sort of experiment in town, and he's thinking, oh, this is interesting, I'll have a look at that. And he asks him what he's doing. He says, oh, don't worry, it's just a weather experiment.
I feel we've all flopped where you're going with this.
And then out of nowhere, he sees
got fuzzy white hair.
Fuzzy white hair, yeah.
Under a colander at the time.
Was it under? Oh no, he didn't have the colander on that night.
Has he got like a car under a top? Someone
He
under a
goes,
top
well, this
ball?
is it. Out of nowhere, he sees this really futuristic-looking car zoom out down the road, hits some wire just as the lightning strikes, and disappears into a burst of. He goes, inventions work. I've got to dedicate my life to inventions.
Wow.
Because it is
Same town, innit?
It was the same town. It was the same set.
We've got one studio lot, and you're all going to like it.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
That's amazing.
So it was basically that inspired him to dedicate his life to the bathroom buddy.
Not a DeLorean time machine.
So that's
No. You kind of said, you got to go, and I don't think I'm
so
ready
that's the
to
first 5 minutes of the film. What happens in the
No,
next
they
90?
basically just see Back to the Future.
I like that. It's an hour and a half leading up to Back to the Future.
Yeah, with him digitally.
And then
Maybe you could follow Doc round for the entire movie.
He's like
so
stalking
it's
him.
So it's like Back to the Future 2
Well, he
again.
kind of
They've gone
gets
back into it.
with the car.
Yeah.
He's there in the
made
Wild
it-
West.
Stalking just like looking.
It's
Nothing
made
in a bush,
entirely
just
of
wank.
celluloid on the cutting room floor from when he was cut out of the background.
Yeah,
With the dog.
He
Just all that
paid a janitor
combined.
$30 and just went in and just scooped all of his bits off the floor and ran off. Has been pasting them together ever since.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I'm into it.
Short and snappy.
that's good. Okay, right. Let's go on then, Abby. Let's.
Mine's also focusing on the father. a
Oh,
bit.
okay.
It's called Hanson's Hindsight. Dadness. And it's Hanson, the teacher that he goes to give a gremlin to. Billy gives the gremlin
the one
to
that got
his old
eaten.
high school science teacher.
Yeah.
To experiment on. And like just the darkness in that guy, the excitement in that guy's eyes, where he's like, finally, I'm alone to experiment.
Right.
And I'm not a lowly paid science teacher.
Yeah.
So I thought he didn't have a father
Oh.
growing up, which
right.
is really sad. So instead, he wanted to invent the perfect father. And that's how Mr. Peltzer, Billy's dad, was invented.
Oh, he's
He's an experiment.
He's like a robot. Is he
Yeah.
a robot or?
He's not a robot. He's got like embryos
in a
and
petri
stuff.
dish.
He's like a genetic mutant.
He's like a genetic mutation.
like a clone type thing.
Yeah,
Well, that ties into the second film awfully nicely as well.
Yeah, a
Even
little
though
bit.
he's completely absent from that film.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
he's
there's
ever,
reasons he's in for a tune-up.
he's ever
Well,
present. Yeah, I like that.
and so this is like the 60s. He's like a tease into science. He's trying to break the mold, and he's just going with it. He's still in Kingston Falls.
Yeah.
And he also creates Phoebe Cates' dad.
Wow.
Who we find out dies doesn't he? in the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
one?
yeah,
That's right, yeah.
And then
An
everyone just
experiment
thinks,
gone wrong.
I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
No, she tells him, and she, right then, get in the car. So he also, so he's got a bunch of fathers around Kingston
But is
Falls.
that an experiment that went wrong and he had to
They're
kill
all
it?
kind of.
Oh,
They're all kind of sort of versions that didn't work out quite how he imagined the
Yeah.
perfect father. So with Mr. Peltzer, I thought, he's a kind man, he's an inventor, he's like creative, so kids would like get on with him 'cause he's got this creative mind. And then like Phoebe Cates' dad was like the lovable father who was around for Christmas, but he didn't quite get all the sort of safety knowledge into him as to
Right.
not climb up a chimney
Yeah,
and die and ruin his daughter's life. Really, it was really sad.
Yeah.
So. Basically, I think Kingston Falls is made entirely of residents that he's created. It's got out of hand, but he's built this sort of
It's like the
town
the
now.
Stepford Dads.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, wow.
exactly.
Wow.
The Kingston
All
Dad.
because it's really powerful when you've got that parent angst, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that combine that with a scientific, magnificent brain. Kingston Falls was born.
Wow. Very good.
Hanson's hindsight.
Isn't the,
And that would have come out in, because Gremlins was 84, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say 78, before
Right.
and I was really pissed off because Star Wars
All right.
really took
Hey,
all the
there's another
glory out
sci-fi
of
film.
it.
There's no other sci-fi film.
Never!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I like
Very
that.
good. Very good. Cool.
Very
Okay, Eddie, what have you got for us?
I have got. I feel that the most wasted role, the most wasted opportunity in any of the Gremlins canon is Dr. Catheter, played by
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, who's got basically an amusing little sort of sub-Marx Brothers routine about various diseases the minute he walks in. Then he said, I've got some munitions in the cupboard, and then he's killed. So I wanted to have a look at him. So born in Surrey in 1910,
yeah.
young Philip Catheter, known as Phil, Phil Catheter, is born to two dog breeders.
Yeah.
And so he's very, very keen on this. He's fond of his parents. He likes what they do. So at the age of 10, he tries to merge, not breed, but merge a miniature schnauzer with a St. Bernard. Like splicing it.
A chimera.
A chimera.
Chimera
exactly,
of
He's-
dogs.
Yeah, basically.
Dog
yes.
chimera.
A canine chimera.
Ooh.
A canmera.
The
This is a very
chimera.
good time for sort of canine-based films as well.
Yeah.
Canine's
absolutely.
gone wrong.
You'll get that market,
Gone
won't you?
scary.
Well,
yeah.
he's 1910. He's grown up. He's read the Island of Dr. Moreau and these kind of things.
He loves the splicing. That's where the name from the.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where he gets the name for the genetics company.
Splice and Dine or whatever.
Splice
it's
of
called.
life.
Splice of life.
I do believe there's a deleted scene where it says it wasn't his idea, that. But it don't matter. Right?
I don't believe.
Yeah, that's why it's a deleted scene.
Yeah,
They-
they said nobody will buy that. Nobody will buy that he didn't come up with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So he pursues a career in science. He's working embryology, and he's look at all this. He's coming out with breakthrough ideas. He's doing really well, except for a brief stint where he's heavily involved in in a proto SAS special forces unit in World War II. But that's only because Christopher Lee was involved in a proto special forces.
And I imagine he mentions it on every film set, and they have to try and get some reference to that in.
Yeah. Basically, he just walks around and they go, "Oh, I think this film's going to be special." What do you mean, like the forces that I was in?
Yeah.
He was like that. He was like that.
He's like what's his name? Ross Kemp in Extras.
He's exactly like Ross Kemp in Extras. Only
Special Army soldiers.
only with a genuine claim to
actually have Matt done it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't know. He's the only guy I know who's definitely in proto SAS special forces and was a singer in a metal band. So, you can't go wrong with that. So I'm trying to bring in little bits of Christopher Lee's real life because he needs to be celebrated more. So it's basically about how he comes up with these things. And then he starts just collecting the diseases that killed his parents, which, of course, the thing that he already has. He says so at the beginning of his appearance in Gremlins 2.
Rabies.
I already have rabies. He's already got rabies. That's because he's got the rabies that killed his parents. because that schnauzer Bernard, the same schnauzer that he made, proper bothered some bats, got a big bite full of rabies, and he found his parents all foaming and stuff. And so that's when he suddenly just, instead of being repelled by disease, he just saw any disease and went, oh, scoop a bit of that up, put that, please analyse this dad's dribble that I've found. So that's what's going on. It's Phil Catheter.
A life story.
Special
Life collecting diseases.
Life in diseases.
Special Forces dog botherer.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay. Different.
Yes.
Okay. Tom, what have you got for us?
Other than this delicious coffee.
You and your sponsors.
Just high street
One
coffee.
out.
Do you know the worst thing is they haven't given him a penny.
No.
If you could actually get us a genuine sponsor, I'd be more than happy
this is
to
what
put
I'm doing.
anything.
I'm trying look, I'm waiting. Someone will pick up on it. Someone will pick up on it and they'll go, yeah, we want in, and they'll get in touch and they'll say, let's carry that shit on.
Okay.
That's what happens. That's why I've gone for so many.
If it works, you can have 90% of the merch.
Nice.
Of the
merch.
The merch in the car park.
Tell you what,
merchandising.
Car park.
T-shirts with your face. I told you that'd work.
Like they have in Gremlins 2 with the Gizmo on.
Yeah.
Lots of merchandising in that.
And they also have a review of the first film in the middle of Gremlins.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots
By
of
real,
callbacks.
they gave that actual review.
Fourth wall breaking.
Fourth wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, go on then.
My
Let's see what
prequel
you
is
got.
called Gremlins. Murray Futterman's War, right?
Oh.
So you've got Murray Futterman, right?
Yeah.
So he's featured in the second one. So they've taken him. And you know, I was always going on about Gremlins, and they think he's mad.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it turns out that he wasn't, because what happened was in WW2, he was fighting in Japan, right? Murray Futterman was, and he was part of a special forces unit, and he finds. He discovers Gizmo in the jungle, they're on, action. That's what they call it when they're out doing action.
Doing action.
Yeah, so they're on an action.
Let's go
mission.
do some action.
Yeah, they're on an action
So
mission.
while they're actioning,
Yeah, so he finds Gizmo and he's like, this is amazing. He keeps it, right? And then obviously he gets back. They get captured by the Japanese.
Oh!
Yeah, so they end up in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, right? And
those places are funny.
And the Japanese take Gizmo off him and they're like, what's this? And they take him away to the Japanese Special Experiments Department.
Right, yeah.
Very similar to the second one. They're all similar.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so he's trapped in a...
Don't say that about
he's
the
in prison.
Japanese.
No, not the Japanese.
He meant the
Films! I
plot.
meant
He meant
the
the
film!
plot.
The plot of the film!
Plot of Gremlins.
Look, there's plenty of
It's
opportunity.
interesting though that he went straight there with that, isn't it?
Plenty
Yeah,
of
this is more about you,
opportunity
Eddie,
for racism
than
in this film because Murray Futterman is a racist character. He's always going on about foreigners and all that stuff,
Yeah,
and this is
You're
where
right, he does,
this is where
yeah.
it comes from,
Yeah.
because he's been captured by the Japanese.
Yeah.
He was captured by some foreigners once,
foreigners
and now he's
once,
what
yeah.
a myopic man.
And that's it. So anyway, so the Japanese get Gizmo wet. Blah blah blah.
Do we know how or?
Yeah.
Waterboarding.
Well, yes, Japanese.
Tell us, where is it?
Japanese water torture. I imagine. Right? I know it's not, but in this it is. It's cultural appropriation of the. It's terrible because it'll be made in about '92.
Oh,
so
right,
so
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
everything will be terrible.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't give a shit.
This is
about
even
that kind of stuff.
pre-Pocahontas.
Exactly.
So
they
fine,
didn't
fine.
bother about any of that.
Let's say it was made in the 70s.
Well, no, because it's.
Well, did they water torture Gizmo? Because that would be disastrous.
Yeah.
That's what he's
That's what I mean.
saying.
So he and then they Gremlins get out and everything.
Let's just say all the
So
Japanese
anyway.
are played by Mickey Rooney.
Yeah, they're all played by Mickey Rooney and Peter Ustinov. Charlie Channing it right up. And so then what happens is Murray Futterman gets out, tries to kill all the Gremlins and everything. But anyway, because he's special forces and they believe him, he gets in touch with the American High Command and says, this shit needs sorting out. There's lots of blah blah blah. The Gremlins are gonna get out of the prisoner of war camp and get out into the local town, which is Hiroshima. So America then obviously they drop the bomb to kill the Gremlins.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And that's how
That's the end.
and
That's the end of the movie.
then you see a sequence afterwards where Murray Futterman's being debriefed and they're basically telling him, never happened, mate, you're mental.
Oh.
It never happened, mate, you're mental.
It's like
Which is
it
what-
did.
Yeah, so then that's why he's always going on about Gremlins and stuff and thinking that it was like just a figment of his imagination in the
That's
first
why he's a
film.
bit Jacob's Ladder in the other film.
Exactly.
Right.
Well-
That's where that comes from.
That's good. I've got a very similar one.
Have you?
Mine is WW2 again.
Right,
so with your Futterman idea. Anyway,
The origin of the modern notion of Gremlins comes from WW2.
Exactly, and that's why
yeah.
yeah.
I'm applauding you. I'm not undermining.
Right, mine's WW2. It's at the front of all this.
Yeah.
A soldier stumbles upon a mysterious box somehow. I haven't worked out all the details for this, I just wanted to get it down. It opens, it's Fine Gizmo, right? And the platoon, you call them the platoon? The
action platoon.
The action platoon.
The action platoon.
They adopt Gizmo as their mascot.
Right, okay.
So they're going into, they're all at the front,
Tape them to their machine.
Yeah. No, they're all, they're having a nice time and they're all in a queue and all that business. So they adopt them as the mascot. Then there's a terrible rain comes and they've got a sequence where Gizmo's like, oh, I know I shouldn't be getting wet, running about like in the second one where he's trying to get out of the way.
Dodging through sprinkles within a massive CGI.
Yeah,
Sort of
and there's like rains coming down all wooden beams and stuff inside, and it hits him on the head and there he goes.
Well, you can you could have like a sort of a Matrix style action sequence where he's weaving in and
Yeah,
that's
what that looked cool. Yeah,
in between all the raindrops. That's it. And there's some water comes out of a drain pipe, and as it's about to hit the floor, he does a fucking slide.
But he slides into a puddle.
Yeah, he slides into a puddle, and that's what I did. And he looks at and the water's coming down, and as he does it, he goes like that with his eyes. His big old eyes.
And then they swap it for the scared face.
Yeah.
And they put that there for a bit.
Well, did you know some of the animatronics are massive in the film?
Yeah.
Because you see them with the hands, and they're like giant gizmos like that big, and they've got real human hands.
All the close-ups,
All the close-ups.
You know the scene where they tie him up and throw darts at him?
Yeah.
That was to placate the crew because they kept breaking down. Horrible things to do to Gizmo. And one of us like, let's stick him a dartboard and throw darts at him.
Fair enough.
Nice. Right, so he's got wet. Okay. So it begins to multiply and all the Mogwai venture, because people forget that they've got to eat after midnight sometimes, to turn into Gremlins. Because I even do that. Yeah, I noticed, but I did that as well. I thought, Gremlins are all. I went, oh shit, no, they've got to eat to turn into. So all the Mogwai venture out onto no man's lands and they're all scavenging all the
Dead soldiers.
Presumably.
The dead soldiers' rations.
No, just dead soldiers.
No, it's too gruesome that. I thought about that, but I thought no. I did write dead bodies and then change it.
That's the thing though, isn't it? Because one of them bites someone after midnight in the second film, I think. Bites him on the nose, and the blood of the human doesn't turn him.
Right.
Or are they already Gremlins? No, it's a Mogwai.
They're already.
Yeah, it doesn't turn him then.
No.
They're not.
No, it was a gremlin.
Blood not.
No, it wasn't. It was the
googly eyed
cross-eyed
one. Yeah.
The stupid one.
Lenny.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because there's two there, George and Lenny.
Right.
course, yeah.
Go on. Yep. So I'm going to keep. Let me get through this because I keep forgetting where I am. Right. So they've all turned into gremlins on no man's land. They start kicking off, and all the soldiers on both sides have to work together to take them all down.
Right.
So you've got they've got a team, a bit like the football game.
Yeah. Are you thinking of World War One?
That was World War One, but this is World War Two.
Oh, okay.
But it's like a similar team.
Similar idea, yeah.
You.
But yeah, I'm aware that World War One.
And the
is a football
rations
match.
that they eat, right? The rations that they eat in it could be those Sainsbury's chocolate bars from that advert.
So it wasn't like
Yes,
the
with
place
that could tie in the chocolate, yeah.
Find it Sainsbury's chocolate bars.
Sainsbury's will be all over that.
Yum yum.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Sainsbury's yum yum.
Yeah.
The first nectar points. Yum yum.
Right. And I had to tie up the thing, obviously, to lean in. So I've got the aftermath. After that's all happened, they've had the battle, and obviously they've all won. A B-17 bomber is on a mission, and mission controller talking at pilots, and suddenly we hear radio static and the sounds of the gremlins in the plane. The guy who's on the mission control comms is like, come in, all that. And they're like, they're hearing it all. And it turns out, it cuts out his name badge and it says, Futterman.
Futterman, and it's Murray Futterman.
Murray Futterman. And we see on his horrified face and he whispers, Gremlins. And then we...
The goddamn Chinese gremlins. Something like that.
Next time I'm buying American Gremlins.
If you like.
That's it.
So that was mine.
Canadian B-52. Yeah. Always buying American.
Planes.
Goddamn Sri Lankan cop got a leak in it.
Yeah. So that's that. So that's the prequels. Let's move on to the sequels. Okay, it's time for the sequels. Let's start with Abby this time. If you're ready you're into the swing of it now.
So, the sequel to Gremlins 2, right?
Yes.
That's where we're at. It features the female gremlin that was born in Gremlins 2. It's kind of a Freaky Friday
She
situation.
found herself in Gremlins 2.
She's like, what am I doing here?
She did find herself.
What the? And so she and somebody played by Catherine O'Hara have a body swap.
Right, okay. Specifically,
Right?
Catherine. It's got to be
Okay,
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine, got to. I'm fighting for Catherine O'Hara to be in that
Catherine
role.
O'Hara,
Okay?
is she the mother
She's
from
the
Home
mummy.
Alone?
Come on,
Yes.
yeah. And
She's
then
not just the mother
right,
from
okay.
Home Alone.
All right, the mother from Home Alone 2.
She's got a varied
She's the
and
mother
vast
from
career.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
She's the mother from...
She's a talented performer from SCTV, actually.
Yes, and also
she the same woman from
the star of.
Yes.
She's the saving grace in the best bit about many Christopher
Guest.
Guest films.
Yes.
Yes.
I was only asking in the shortest hand I possibly could to try and avoid a protracted leave from your work, but these two got upset with me for not
Shorthand.
listing every film
Yeah.
with Catherine O'Hara been in.
I'm happy to do that.
Oh, no.
That's my sequel. It's Gremlins sat announcing all Catherine
Grem-
O'Hara's IMDb page.
Lady Gremlin and Catherine O'Hara look back on a career.
It's like Desert Island Discs.
Yeah.
It's like a really weird version of Inside the Actors Studio.
That's a bit more like finger. So yeah, Catherine O'Hara is a successful sort of lawyer lady, pretty like hard nosed. She's married to Alec Baldwin, somebody played by Alec Baldwin, who seems okay, but we all know he's an asshole. Because
That's his best role, isn't it?
well, not him
an
personally.
asshole.
I'm not saying he is,
He's
but
not,
like
yeah.
he's good at
But
playing
that role he does well in.
It's so slick, it's sleaze. And so they're married. They appear like the perfect couple.
Yeah.
Female gremlin lady is integrated into society really well. Things are on the rocks for her marriage though, because it was forced, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't on good terms.
No.
So
To be honest, she did most of the forcing, as I remember.
yeah,
Oh, right,
that's what I mean.
right.
Oh yeah. She's the
Oh,
one.
okay, right.
Totally. So someone very in control versus somebody who's very like, do what I want, but also in control. So both their marriages seem to be okay, but actually they're on the rocks. Their body swap happens when they're both jostling around Manhattan trying to get to their jobs. And they're...
So she's been accepted into society, this gremlin.
Yes, she has. Yeah, she has.
Did they sort of
Wonderful.
brush shoulder pads
They
on the
did,
tube?
they did! Their shoulder pads get tangled, okay? Because these are two women just fighting for everything they can get,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Including shoulder pad space on the sidewalk. So
Yeah.
they like tangle shoulder pads, and it's like, oh, what the fuck? And her lip gloss goes in her bag and
Right,
whatnot.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the body swap happens.
Wow.
Alec Baldwin's character turns out to love the new Catherine.
All right. Okay.
Just this new sort of lust-filled, sort of
Just
very
sort of,
physically driven kind of.
she's kind of wearing the trousers, but in a way that he seems to approve.
Does she still have
Wear
the
the trousers,
gremlin
but take them
voice?
Yeah,
When
well, she
this
would have
body-
the gremlin
So
voice,
she's
wouldn't
saying all about it.
Yeah,
like,
oh my god, I've never
She's
heard you
always
talk
doing
like
that.
that. Yeah.
kissy thing at him.
What do you
And
want?
he's like, oh, you're also kissy
Yeah.
recently.
She gives, she's got
Loves it.
clear body language, clear like trajectory, whereas Catherine O'Hara, it's all in her head. And then, it turns out later on they sort of appreciate one another. And lawyer Catherine O'Hara starts to fight for Gremlin's rights when she returns back to her body.
Right.
Thinking that these are people these are creatures that can live in society just as we. Aren't we all but a gremlin?
Yeah. Deep down.
Aren't we all, doing things after midnight we should?
Yeah.
I know I am, and so are you, ladies and gentlemen of
Yeah.
the jury.
I'm always eating after midnight.
Oh, you cheeky monkey.
I know.
I do as well. Yeah, you're right.
That's like,
God.
it's-
And I'm always getting wet.
Yeah, and despite my pallid complexion, I often go out into bright light.
Yeah.
I like that you're sort of combining the important speeches from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest Inherit the Wind and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
It's going to be all of that mashup,
These
yeah.
major motion picture speeches.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You're also going to get the Beetlejuice crowd, aren't you? Because Alec Baldwin was in Beetlejuice.
Yeah, precisely, yeah.
Oh, finally reunited at last.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, okay.
But what
Yeah,
happens to
that's-
Alec Baldwin after Catherine O'Hara comes back? Does he start chasing gremlins for the rest of his life?
So he kind of ends up, I don't know, sort of like on this waste ground on Staten Island or something. Like the trash he is. And then, boom, boom, Tina Turner like just closes the whole fucking
Maybe I'd like. Yeah, I like that. I think, and in fact, the girl gremlin next to her doing all that stuff as well, and like a little Tina Turner version, that would have to be.
Tom's having, he's writing Tina Turner.
He's writing Tina Turner.
Yeah, and then like, you know, in Tina Turner's music video, they turn
Yeah.
up, and they all do that thing where they like chuck legs together and you know, they do all that.
Cool.
Sort of, yeah.
All right, excellent.
I'm fighting against the elastic bands around my limbs kind of dance. Which,
All right, let's come around this way then.
Yeah,
Noel,
sure.
what have you got for us?
I've got
Sequel?
Sequel. I also have a female gremlin, not a different one now. Because this is Gremlins, a love story.
Ooh,
Oh.
Gremlins in love too.
Gizmo ventures off to the Pacific Island, the paradise-like Pacific Island where the Mogwai come from.
Origin.
So it's like
the story.
Nice.
So it's like Chewbacca going home in the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, a lot of that. Very heartwarming.
Only they've got budget.
They've got budget, yeah.
but still no subtitles.
So they have a whole kind of Mogwai society there, and he goes back, falls in
Do
love.
they have a village like up in trees like Ewoks? Of course they do.
Is it a combination of
dancing?
Is it a combination of Kashyyyk and Endor? That's what Chris wants to know. Is it pretty much that?
If you want it to be, it can be
sold.
that.
I'll buy it.
They'll sing
and
their
so
whole song, Yub Nub.
he falls in love with the princess, but obviously he's a nobody. It's not to be. But yeah, so
A Mogwai princess.
Mogwai princess.
Yeah.
And so he has to prove himself by doing stuff.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games would be one. Or I was thinking maybe doing like a surfing without getting wet, because obviously you don't want to be. That'd be a very dramatic sequence.
Because we find out about the sort of the tribal nature of it, of these Mogwai. Do they, in the event of one of them getting wet, what do they do? Do they just have methods in which to eliminate them? Do they send them off to a different island?
There's a very kind of strict policy control on the island. So
one thing that I was wondering about was, like, obviously Mogwai is a good Mogwai, but every other Mogwai that seems to come out is a cunt.
Seems to be a proper.
They're all an absolute shit.
And they also have like a really outward. Like, I know you're a little punk because you've got a punk hairdo or you've got a stripe across your head.
But they're always, as soon as they get
like
born,
the ones that came out of them should be good, and they're bad, and they're good.
Switch the generation.
It's like everyone that comes out, as soon as they sit, they go Gizmo, and then they start torturing.
Maybe 1 in 10's a good one.
Maybe 1 in 10's a good one.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
maybe they're just slaughtering ones who are actually like, oh no, I'm alright, I fancied a bit of food after midnight, and
Mogwais.
what's happened?
Gizmos and
there's a dark secret in him. Well, it gets explained at the end of this film. It's very heartwarming.
If we ever
if we ever get there, kind of romantic film. He finally wins the heart of the princess, and they're madly in love. They get married, and they say, well, let's start a family. And you suddenly think, how do they reproduce? And that's when it hits you. They just start pissing on each other. They're big into water sports. The Mogwai, it's just disgusting thing. And the children pop out. And so the first thing that every Mogwai sees is their own parents pissing on each other. So that's the dark secret at the heart of every Mogwai.
That's
why they turn into gremlins when they're older. It's basically not eating after midnight. It's just basically puberty. Where they go,
Well, it's the pupil stage, isn't it?
Tell you what, though, Gizmo always seems to get a deep joy from watching his own children die, because every time
Do you know,
when they're, and he's
because
like,
he pops out box, doesn't he? The second one is like, watch this.
look at them all die.
They're all his twin, effectively. They're all
clones.
Well, it's asexual reproduction. It's I mean, the fact there's that much genetic variance with the different characteristics of the gremlins suggests that they've got a very unstable gene. Unstable genome.
But especially by the fact that
they're switched.
like they can can mutate very quickly, like with the electric and all that stuff in the second one.
Well, that's with outside influence. All of those.
Oh, that's awesome, but it also works on them all very quickly.
That's true.
Volatile genetic.
No, well, I mean, they can't have been alive for more than. I mean, none of the Gremlins in that film have been alive for more than about 6 hours.
Yeah, no.
So they're still very pliable. It's like the Doctor.
I mean, what about this then? What if these Mogwais that are coming out, they're all quite infantile in what they're doing? What if they are all just little babies and like?
Yeah, they need.
It's
So like in Mogwai society,
parenting.
Yeah,
and they never got
getting
that
slaughtered.
So in Mogwai society, they round them up very quickly and then get them into training school.
To
make sure
and forget what you've just seen your parents doing.
Basically.
Bury that deep within your psyche.
Yeah.
Some interesting Mogwai.
They call it the uncunting skull.
Ethics. Sorry. Right. Okay. Have you? Is that? That's the end. Right. Okay. My sequel then is Gremlins 3. I couldn't think of a tag. I'm trying to think of a snazzy tagline. Couldn't think of one. They had it with a grow again. I was like, oh. Anyway, we start in Clamp Corners, the picturesque town that Mr. Clamp decided to build at the end of Gremlins 2.
Okay.
Right, it's 30 years later. Billy Peltzer has the good life. His wife Kate runs GizCorps, a company specialising in gizmo-themed merchandise.
Oh, they mentioned that as well.
Yeah, mentioned that as well. So Billy oversees a gizmo comic book and animation company, doing all sorts of stuff because he's a bit good with pens and
all the licensed.
All the stuff like that, yeah. All is well until a disgruntled employee wets Gizmo with just one drop.
Oh.
It's more like a mic drop that way, and it's like, what?
It gets
I don't need a title.
Drop. It just takes one Mogwai.
It only takes
So
one
it's like,
drop.
grabs
Just
it,
one.
smuggles him out because he wants a pet for his own.
Can there be a funny bit where he hides it in his trousers and then his trousers just pulsate and bulge at the front?
Yeah.
Because I think you want.
It depends.
You want the horror.
Do you want the horror, or do you want the
Gremlins carry on?
I think you want the horror of that, but then also the smutty innuendo of Gremlins.
Yeah, so a bit of a mix of both.
Yeah.
They've got one there because you think,
There's
what are
room
you
for
going
both,
to do?
isn't there? Yeah.
So right, so he takes him home, this Mogwai, anyway, for a pet. A bit like of Mice and Men is a bit like that.
Who's like Lenny?
Yeah, stroke him.
I was thought I'd put him in my pocket.
I got my own Gizmo, Georgia. All is well, blah 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 blah, until he foolishly feeds him after midnight. Somehow he just, idiot. And the resulting gremlin, once he's like, it's turning into a cocoon, it hatches, but it hatches rapidly for some reason. I thought that. It jumps into a washing machine. Now this is my microwave oven scene. This.
Oh no!
I wanted like a
spin cycle.
Yeah, so it jumps in washing machine, slams it and sets it going, and all these gremlins just start firing out of the washing machine.
Like bubbling over.
Yeah.
I like
and
that.
he's like, oh shit, and it goes crazy, a bit like the
shotgun pellets.
Yeah. So I thought, we could do that, and that's our little party piece, little set piece in there, So anyway, they just start multiplying everywhere. Gremlins start terrorising Clamp Corners, we call it Clamp Corners. Clamp Corners.
Shouldn't have moved it, there's not a lot of space.
And Billy, Kate and Gizmo just have to save the day. That's all I got, because I just thought that...
It worked the first time. It worked the second time. Why is it not going to work the third time?
And I want to see... I want to see them back in a film as well, Billy and Kate. I think,
I think your tagline, especially if it was set in
They
Yorkshire
haven't been
for
doing
some
much
reason.
recently. I checked on IMDb.
Should be Giz It Here.
Giz It Here.
Phoebe
Can
Cates
have
hasn't
that.
Have it.
Actually, she'll come out for this. She'll come out of
Who's this?
retirement.
Phoebe Cates.
Oh, yeah.
Get them back for this.
Phoebe Cates Klein.
Yeah, Phoebe Cates Klein.
One last hurrah for
Kevin
her.
Klein.
She married Kevin Klein.
She did, yeah.
Ages ago.
Long time.
Ages ago. Lived together for
time.
decades.
My fish called Wonder Time? No?
About that, yeah. Well, she was 26 and he was 16 years old. 16 years older. But it seems to have lasted. Because it said, I was just reading up on her, it said, married Kevin Klein despite him being 16 years older than her. And I was thinking, is he another bad one? And then she was 26 at the time. She's made up her own mind.
Not Jerry Lee Lewis.
No.
Right, Tom, what have you got? Sequel?
Well, it's pretty much the same as yours, except it's set in space.
You guys have got a similar mind.
Yeah. So
we have to, we don't
need some
usually.
space.
No.
Usually it's really dark and it's like murdering people. And,
yeah, well, this is Gremlins in space, one small step for Mogwai.
Oh,
that's good.
Right,
Yeah.
one giant leap for Gremlins.
Hey.
So it's Daniel Clamp's built the new Kingston Falls, but on the moon.
Right.
He's
Oh,
one,
yeah.
he's
Real
like,
estate's really inexpensive there.
exactly. He's like an Elon Musk type motherfucker,
Right.
And he's expanded. So he's built that on the moon, and Billy, I thought he looks like a put Bilky. I don't know. It's Billy, definitely.
Billy's changed his name.
Yeah, put Bilko in it.
Bilko.
That's right, Mr. Clamp.
That's it. What are these Gremlins doing in here?
Oh, I can tell you that.
That's it. So now, like, Billy's like now 50 odd, because that's how long it's
Yeah.
taken for this thing to actually happen.
Sure.
He goes to see it, and obviously he takes Gizmo with him because he can't be left alone because shit happens. But
He really can't.
Even when Billy takes him places, shit happens. But Billy's not had an incident. He's got one of them clocks in his house. 0 incidents for like 3,000 days or whatever. It's been like 10 odd years. Some other shit's happened.
Well,
Some
they'll
minor
chew through
outbreaks.
that, won't they?
Yeah.
Eventually.
That's it. They get up there.
He's made it out of sandwiches.
And it's fake, but he built it on the dark side of the moon, and it's fake sunlight, so it doesn't affect the Gremlins. So they get out and they cause chaos all day long, right? So what they have to do is they have to Clamp's on it in the background. He's building some rockets so he can spin the moon round, so he can get it into the sun to kill them. Because there's no weapons up there or anything like that, only like brooms and stuff. So
What about those transformers that are buried there?
well, exactly. They could use those, but I mean they don't discover them.
Sid Barrett, who's buried there.
That's it. There's lots of stuff. So they have to go. Basically, what happens is Gremlins get out. It's the usual stuff. The Gremlin in over here. The Gremlin in over there.
Is that all the Gremlin version of action?
That's it. They're all Gremlin in everywhere.
Action over there and action there.
All the machines are getting destroyed. They're having a laugh. They're
Machining,
wearing
no doubt.
space helmets. Like that. They're doing all the stuff. It's basically, and some of the similar things happen because it's Kingston Falls. So they're in the cinema. They get to watch another film. But instead of Snow White, it's not Snow White. It's like another of the Disney films that they watch.
Pinocchio.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. It could be Pocahontas.
Pinocchio, and then they all run around pretending to be donkeys and smoking cigars and stuff.
There's lots of space-based sort of like like rehashes of old jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, something to do with the dark side of the moon. They spin it round, they all die.
Do they blow up at the moon at the end?
No.
Do a kind of alien thing, nuke it from space?
No.
They bring it into the sun. Bring it
Just
to the
put it
light
into
side.
the rockets to
So the
spin it
plan
into the
works.
sun.
Into real,
works.
into
That's
genuine
good, I like
sunlight.
it.
Obviously, Gremlins get into that, and that kind of messes up as well. You know what Gremlins get out. So
There's one
Gremlins.
explode
Could be
inside
one-
of
it could be
space.
Yeah, one
Yeah, I
explodes
imagine
inside
that
a space
too.
helmet.
Or
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you could have. You could have a callback to the first one, and you could have someone in like a spaceship thing. And there's a whole bank of lights, sort of house style, and then the lights go down. 2 of them remain because they're the eyes, like in the Christmas tree.
That'd be good.
Little callback and all spooky.
And there's lots of fourth wall breaking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a bit
Can't tell you what
less
any of them
interested
are.
in your idea now, I've got to say.
You've got to have that because they go, let's make it fucking much bigger.
Yeah.
So like then,
Oh, well, in honour of, I nearly said dearly departed Dom. He's fine. Dom, who isn't here for this one, he's dead.
Dom's dead.
And the only thing we're doing to remember him, but also tying to the second one, is we'll have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson tell them to start the film again, because then you've got a pro wrestler, popular wrestler, and Dom.
Yeah.
For those regular viewers, tries to put Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson into every requel that has ever been suggested. I think.
And Maury Futterman's son is the head of the Space Army.
Right.
The Spark.
They're always very
That's good. All right.
Always,
Yeah.
apparently, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. Eddie, what have you got for us?
Well, from the high concept science fiction, we're going quite different. I've also focused on Gigi, as I've called her, which is Gremlin Girl or Girl Gremlin, and that's also what Forster calls her, because she never sort of got a name as such. But so it's about Forster and Gigi's marriage.
Is Forster Robert Picardo?
Yes.
Yes, he's the initially reluctant groom, but
As we see at the end, very, very much goes, fuck it.
he does, yeah.
I think he'll
This is as good as I'm going to get. I might as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's, say, as potentially damaging as the scene in Straw Dogs, but it's not far off. It's a bit unpleasant.
I mean, and those are some full lips.
Oh. They are. They're
And
very,
sharp teeth.
You would, wouldn't you?
They're very, very full, but only right here. The rest of it's incredibly thin. But yeah, so Forster and Gigi, it's a lo-fi sort of kitchen sink comedy. It's basically like the Royal Family.
Is this like the one with J-Lo and Ben Affleck? What do you call it?
Made in Manhattan.
Jiggly.
It's a remake of that.
It's a remake of that.
Not quite. No, it's. I'm seeing it as like the Royal Family.
Right,
Carolina Aherne, may she rest in peace.
Oh, I see. A proper kitchen sink.
Yeah, sort of very much sort of like the delight of the mundane, the sort of, you know, these things. So they spend a lot of time sitting around, affectionately smoking on each other, and you know, it's watching the telly. Lots of very long, sort of not even pregnant pauses, just sort of staying there watching Britain's Got Talent, or you know,
Unicorn biscuit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they get excited about a 16p biscuit. Yeah, exactly. And sort of, you know, they're arguing about who's going to make the next cup of tea and all this kind of thing. But this is sort of after 20 years, so they've got teenage children. One of whom is sort of like very much sort of an SJW, you know, sort of social justice. They're worried about representation. They're worried about equality and all these kind of things. They're often on their phone, getting angry about stuff. The other one's a bit of a tearaway, and they keep sort of, you know, finding her in the biscuit tin, just coming up to midnight. And like, hey, whoa, get out of it.
Get away from those old cops.
Biscuit's my arse. Like he says on the thing. So it's sort of, there's sort of no real point to it. It's just a sort of a portrait.
Slice of life.
A slice of life portrait of it.
Play today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be, I thought it would be an interesting thing to see how, because Forster obviously grew up, or, you know, he was at his prime in the 1980s. He was the head of security of a huge sort of conglomerate. He was, so he had technology, he had respect, he had power. Now he's
nice suit.
Oh, mate. There's no other kind in the 1980s. I know this was released in 1990, but given that the 90s were the 80s until about 1993 anyway.
Yeah.
So basically the 90s started when, 94, the 90s started when Kurt Cobain died, pretty much. And it very much found its own thing as a decade.
Yeah.
Up until then, it was still kind of the 80s Mark
Power
II.
suits.
Yeah, it was still a bit, and given that this was made largely in 1989, so it's still got that very 80s mentality. But now he doesn't have the sort of the power and the respect. He can't even garner the respect at home because his older daughter is always saying, oh, that's a bit like the Murtaugh family. Always going, oh, this isn't dolphin friendly tuna, Dad, and oh, free South Africa. No, I don't need to free South Africa anymore, but you know that thing. And the other one sort of going, yum, yum, yum. You know, the younger one's a mogwai, the older one's a human. Mm-hmm. I'm not Christopher Lee. I don't understand the genetics. This is how it turned out.
They don't need to. It's just.
And there's also a sort of an underlying sense of what it might be like to be in a sort of a multicultural family, because they're not living in sort of the most affluent area, not necessarily the best educated area. So there's an underlying sense they get a bit of stick. Sort of you should stick to your own species.
Like Kermit and Miss Piggy's hybrid babies and that. Which Muppet film?
Yeah.
That looks wrong.
Pink
frogs, but they had didn't they have trotters as well?
A bit like the Dogs and Dragons in Shrek.
Yeah, Donkey Dragons.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In this case, we're avoiding that by just having a human offspring and a mogwai offspring.
Yeah. That donkey.
No, not even a mogwai.
That donkey has fucked that dragon.
Mate, I know. Mate, it's alright.
How's that?
It gave me some nice dragon ears, right?
Oh, get right up in there. Whole self.
Donkey! Did you have sex with a dragon, donkey?
It's accurate.
It is.
Right, okay.
So that's it, yeah. So a little slice of life, but occasionally, just make sure that they've eaten,
I had your yum yum.
Yes, I've had my yum yum mum.
What do you have?
You sound like
on toast.
Gollum.
Yeah.
Yum yum.
What the
Oh, sponsoring it.
I hope you fucking try around.
Get the sponsor. We'll give him a little taste, right? If you want more of this on these videos, then
with your suffering sales.
Gee, yeah.
Yum,
Oh,
yum.
never heard of them before.
Yum-a-nums.
They need marketing.
Yum-a-nums.
Yeah, and make a vegan version.
Right, this section's
They're
gone on way too long. Let's move on to the requels. Okay, it's time for the requels. So let's start with Tom actually this time. Start with you. Go around.
So, Gremlins 1, really successful. Gremlins 2, I would imagine, is all equally successful. Few late, well, exactly. So it's not been that successful. So they've not greenlit a third one. So obviously, like about 5-6 years down the line, 10 years down the line, we'll call it 2002. The studios get involved and go, Gremlins, do you remember Gremlins? I fucking love Gremlins. And they go, yeah, but we can't just do Gremlins again. It wouldn't work. We've got to make it. We've got to bring it into the millennium. So we need a really sort of like down to the minute, up to the minute horror director come in and really sort shit out.
Which is it? Down to the minute or up to the minute?
It's across the minute.
You know what I mean?
Right up a minute.
Yeah, a minute. A really now sort of person. Someone who's really popular, hype. Everyone's going, oh, he's going to do wonderful work. And so, but I mean, like the studios, idiots. They don't see what the people see. So anyway, they get Eli Roth in, don't they? Fucking Eli Roth off of Hostel, and they go, and they go, Eli Roth, do you like Gremlins? And he goes, I love Gremlins. I've got such a lot of respect for Gremlins. I could really, I love the source material. I could really do something really wonderful with it. And they go, all right then, off you go. You go and make something special. And what he does, he just does a Eli Roth torture porn, fucking CGI, like horror best violence for no reason. People like completely disposable characters, no fucking plot or anything. You know, people that walk around going, oh, Gary, I can't wait to get married to you tomorrow. And then they get ripped to fucking shreds by a gremlin with a drill, exactly like that. There's loads of scenes. Loads of scenes. You know, like the dentist scene? And it's a Marathon Man joke. Wonderful Marathon Man joke. But in this, it's basically just scenes from Hostel, but with gremlins doing it to people.
Right.
It's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Really, I can't believe they fucking made it.
Can't believe they made it.
Can't believe they made it. It's disgusting.
I'm with you, man. I'm outraged.
Right.
Yeah.
So they basically that.
Right, okay.
And it's just called Gremlins.
They're not even bothered.
Not even bothered.
Same font.
But what they write is they go Eli Roth's Gremlins. People go, it's going to be amazing, and then all the horror fans wank over it. Yeah, a lot.
They do.
They do, don't they?
And that's not all right.
Oh yeah, Eli Roth's really misunderstood. No, he's not.
No, he's saying something about issues.
Yeah, it's an allegory for the the political structure of Serbia. Fuck off, Eli Roth. That's it, basically.
That's it,
yeah.
right. Okay.
Well, we're going to have to fucking redo that.
No,
now,
that's fine. We'll cut that out, don't worry. We'll cut that out.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like how you talked about the wrongly acquired critical acclaim and how you hate the movie. How you created.
Yeah. Horrible. Oh, it was so. Do you know what? It's one of the worst things. It was all those torture porn films just after, and that was the worst one for me.
Which one?
The Gremlins.
Okay, let's. Eddie, what have you got for us?
I've got a doctor's appointment for Tom. No, Dom.
I'm fine.
For Dom, it's too late. Obviously, as we've established.
Dom's dead.
He's dead. I'm sorry. For the requel, I've got The Only Way is Kingston Falls.
Oh yeah.
It's very similar, but the Gremlins are vapid, pointless, and there's no reason why you should know who they are. So they're just sort of, they've still got that sort of inane chatter that's sort of nearly human words, but not quite. But it doesn't have so much rasp in it. The rules are different but similar. Don't expose them to sunbeds. If you get any booze near them, they reproduce like fuck. And instead of no food before midnight, it's no carbs before marbs. So
okay.
So
if they have carbs before marbs, they turn into gremlins.
No, they just turn into slightly fatter gremlins.
Right. Okay.
It's basically they feel bad about themselves. They don't Instagram as much.
Is there a sequel? Is there a gratuitous shot of them in marbs where there's a gremlin wearing one of those half man thongs?
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, basically, well, they don't actually have that, but they have fur markings that give the outline
of a half man
of one of those sort of like someone's bent a spoon around yourself just so you can cup yourself.
Yuri Geller's pants.
Yeah, basically. Which
Yuri
I
Geller's Gremlins.
think it's likely inserted into the anus and is clenched to hold it on. Yeah, one of those things. So it's
You
sort of,
think? Fucking knows. He knows.
I haven't got a clue.
He knows.
Well,
They were
I'm-
too descriptive.
I'm only wearing one because I don't want VPL, mate.
You wear them when you go on holiday to
I wear them
Cornwall.
now!
You're wearing them now.
To
You-
Cornwall,
That's it,
yeah.
you wander around flipping Truro Beach wearing them.
I do.
Is there a beach in Truro?
There's a harbour. There's some water near Truro, don't worry. It's okay.
Fishing on the harbour.
Watching the ships roll.
Crabbing. Yeah, crabbing.
Crabbing. Moe's the mum.
got crabs.
Right.
Yeah. So it's basically slightly more sort of reality. It's more to do. It's less to do with causing havoc and actually having anything interesting happening. It's more to do with complaining about the gremlin or mogwai that isn't there at the time, and what they might have said about them when they refused to sit with them whilst watching Snow White for the 15th time that week.
So it's like a reality show.
It's
Gremlins,
a reality did, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Today's
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
think
so
that
it's
would
got-
do really well at the
And you
box
could spin it
office.
off again with like the Real Housewives of Kingston Falls.
Exactly, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm hoping
Oh, yeah.
that Taucuff will be really, really popular, as that's what everyone's going to call it. Hashtag Taucuff.
Taucuff.
Taucuff, yeah. So that's
Trending now.
yeah, and then there's going to be obviously there'll be a sort of a much more sort of well-off, sort of affluent version called Maiden Clamp. It's just going to be the very wealthy
The
people.
brainy gremlin.
The brainy gremlin, yeah. It's just going to go, oh, I don't understand exactly what it is. It's got that wonderful New Englandy sort of mid-Atlantic accent. Sort of.
Tony Randall.
Yeah,
Tony
it is
Randall.
Tony Randall, but it's sort of, yeah, it's got a bit of Lloyd Grossman in there.
Right, okay,
Yes.
excellent.
So that's
Abby,
what we're doing.
let's, what have you got for your recall?
So the Requel is Gremlins versus Wall Street.
Oh.
And it's, so picture this, it's 1998, so 8 years after Gremlins 2.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of had a bit of space between them, bit of space jam between between the films.
I forgot you only consider films to be before Space Jam and after Space Jam. That was the
BSP
watershed.
and ASP.
That was the watershed
Yeah,
moment
exactly.
in cinema.
It was.
The talkies, no. Colorization, no. The Steadicam, no. Space Jam.
ESJ and ASJ.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
What is the swimming awards?
So it's going to be that wonderful time, mainly because it was kind of, you know, peak of my childhood in this time.
Coming up to the millennium.
Yeah, it's like, oh, as the computer's got bugs. Fuck it, let's just buy everything we can.
Will my microwave be okay?
Yeah.
No, there's a
Yeah.
gremlin in it.
What happens is Wall Street have financially fucked everybody, right? And then, so this is again where sort of the world sort of accepts gremlins. They're not the enemy anymore. It's purely Wall Street. So then, the only way to get an even playing field, and that's on point playing field, is they have to verse each other in a sports game. I haven't decided the sports game yet. Okay,
Might
so
it
we're
be
bringing
basketball?
sports, we're bringing comedy, we're bringing the all-American fucking thing.
Like Eddie said, is it
Bill Murray in
basketball?
Yeah, is it basketball?
I think it's gonna be basketball. Okay,
Fine.
it's gonna be basketball, right?
Netball.
So,
in it, one of them's got to say,
slight disadvantage, so basically.
yeah, one of them's got to say, Mogwai can't jump. That's got to be said, innit?
Yeah.
well, what happens is
Like
they build
Teen
a
Wolf.
team and they realise that the only way to face these terrible kind of faceless stockbrokers or bankers is with the gremlins and letting them have everything they shouldn't have. Guess who's coaching them? Tom Hanks and Will Smith are a power couple, and they coach the gremlins.
And there could be a sequence. There could be a sequence like where the Mogwais are on the pitch, right? And then it's just, and then what happens is like they all jump on top of him, and like in Teen Wolf, he throws them off, and he's a gremlin.
Wow.
He's and there's just like he's
For one night
metamorphosed,
only.
like
Yeah, there's plenty of scenes where like we've got to get everyone back into play. So like Will Smith and Tom Hanks, they're a really lovely couple, but like Tom Hanks has been drinking because he hadn't had a sports career for a while, and Will Smith's trying to get by.
Not
and
since he coached that ladies' baseball team.
Yeah, Major League.
Well, it's like they're
It's
trying
like
to
talking
eat
about-
after midnight
No,
because there's no eating in basketball.
It's a league of their own.
League
A League of Their Own,
sorry,
yeah,
League
yeah,
of Their
yeah.
Own.
I feel the dreams is costing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Beg your pardon.
So we've got that classic trope. We've got to call the coach back. We've got to like get him inspired again, and it helps him and Will Smith's relationship again. And then Mogwai is like a therapist, and his therapist company is Mogwai. Like why? Why? Because he's gone through a lot of trauma of his own, with being tortured by his own sort of brethren.
Yeah.
So now. He's like a really lovely sort of cerebral psychiatrist. He's got a sweet wife, and they're living the dream. He's just keeping himself to himself, right? You don't fucking anyone to be his owner.
Yeah.
Okay, but they need him. They need him for the basketball team. And yeah, I think we're gonna go with Tom's idea there like. The only way he's going to do it is to get him angry, is to get him outside of his box.
They give him a Mars. The game's been held at 10 past midnight.
Yeah.
They give him a Mars bar just on the sideline and go, "Get on there, son!" And he runs
Mars,
on.
aren't they the company that makes M&Ms?
They are.
I really wanted to have the lights midnight somewhere, but fucking Gremlins 2 already had it, but we're going to bring it back. But also, to really, really sell this fucker, we need so much merchandise. So obviously it's like Gremlin basketball jerseys and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the basketballs are made to look like food to make them go chase it and things as well. But the other really big thing is having anyone and every pop star around that time. So who are we talking here? We're talking Mary J. Blige. I want her there.
Yeah.
I want her there.
J-Lo.
J-Lo, definitely.
The Spice Girls.
Missy
Spice
Elliott.
Girls I've got, and these are not just singing, they're like proper good cameos, like, oh no, Victoria Beckham just, oh no, what's happening?
Oh,
What are they called?
basketball.
Who sing Killing Me Softly?
Fugees.
Fugees are well fucking all over this, yes.
I think that
Morissette.
Alanis Morissette
I think
is the receptionist at Mogwai.
have another basketball team made up entirely of members of Wu-Tang Clan and Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Oh,
that'll be good.
This is good. So that's what it is. It's a success. It's a success.
The film is a success.
Yeah.
And when you say success, you mean it makes a shitload of money, but it generally sucks.
Yeah.
Which is the majority of films.
Like Mamma Mia. It's like Mamma Mia. Like Mamma Mia.
In '98, you think this is the best film.
Everyone hates
This
it.
is the best film ever. Like you look back on photos of you, and you've got the full gear. Your grandma's taking you to Blackpool. You've got like the watch. You've got your McDonald's thing. You're fully cladded. You are in this film forever. The poster's up. You've got the original basketball, and then you go to revisit it with all like your uni friends. Like, what do you mean you haven't seen?
Yeah. But then
Gremlins versus Wall Street.
But you look back
What
at
do you mean? Fuck the other two. And then you put them on, and then it's terrible.
You look back at photos of yourself wearing all that stuff and you go, the fuck was I wearing?
And then you realise childhood
Can't believe I bought
is
that.
a snow
I
globe.
believe I surgically altered my own ears.
Yeah.
What's that doing?
Yeah, there's this surgery, plastic surgery. Like a lot of kids get their ears put back.
Yeah.
Put them forward.
You get them
Yeah.
gremlin and spat them like
Yeah.
Well, it's like
Gremlins are in. Gremlins.
Gremlin. Not Gremlin.
You're not gremlins.
No, if you, it's that thing where you remember a sort of a social, like a
Social phenomenon.
A social
Oasis
phenomenon.
versus Blur.
That kind of thing, and you
It's
realise,
that.
and you
They were
realise,
bullshit.
and you realise that you actually loved the ephemera and the sense of happening more so than the social or the media
Yeah,
product.
it's
and the
Brighton
centre
Rock.
of it.
Brighton Rock, Quadrophenia, Mods Against Rockers.
Yeah.
Punk.
Yeah, punk. It lasted about 18 months in real life.
Skinheads, yeah.
Yeah.
The National Front.
But what?
No, not them.
Pogs versus
Pogs
yo-yos.
versus
There'll be pogs of this.
Snap bands.
All right, that's enough fucking references.
Oh,
from, we can all reminisce about all this stuff.
Jumpers for goalposts. Marvellous.
Them, those T-shirts that used to change colour.
Global
hypercolour T-shirts.
You're right about them. Everybody got them, didn't they? And thought, this is going to be it now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bit of dancing, and your armpits go orange.
Yeah.
That's it.
They were the equivalent of getting the Back
here,
to the Future shoes that laced up.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get them. So
United
everybody got
Colours of
global
Benetton.
hypercolour.
All that happened with your global hypercolour is that people just come up, grab a handful of your shirt and go.
Yeah, that's it. And a little bit of dancing.
Yeah,
big orange pits.
So for me, it was just a little bit of walking.
Yeah.
Right then, Noel, what have you got for us? Your Requel.
Okay.
Colour trousers.
So I'm going the horror route as well.
Horror route. Okay.
Because
Horror.
I want to make it clear this is a horror film that's not suitable for kids, so that other people don't make the mistake that I made of showing my children Gremlins when they were way too young to be watching it.
Even though it is 15 rated.
I got it and looked film. I thought, I'll show them Gremlins because to me, Gremlins was like the bit in the bar. It's like a Warner Brothers cartoon come to life.
Yeah.
And I got it and I went, oh, it's 15. Oh, it'll be like an 80s 15. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Put it on. It's like if I get to the horror bit in the house, the kids were like, oh, I don't want to watch this, Daddy.
It is for
And then, but I kind of thought, watching half a horror film is worse than watching the whole thing. So I was like trying to get.
So you made them watch the whole
I
thing?
made them watch the
What
whole
with
thing.
orange
You
skin,
forced
just
them.
like,
Yeah, that's it.
But then I was watching it with my wife, and we were kind of talking them through it. Don't worry, this bit, and they're not going to die. And I got to the scene where they were like, "Oh, that's when my dad died," and I found out that's not saying it wasn't real. And we were talking to them during that bit, and I heard that Phoebe saying, "That's when I found out that Santa wasn't real." And I looked at my wife and went, "Did either of them hear that?" I think we got away with it. And we got to the end of the film, and my son was like, "Oh, it wasn't so bad. Can we watch it again?" I went, "Nope."
So in one day, you just closed down childhood.
No.
Standard, no. Terror, yes.
To this day.
Next, the Wicker Man. Come on, kids. This will be all right.
In preparation for a holiday in Scotland.
Misery.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Tune in, kids.
Yeah.
That and Gravity were the two big mistakes I made in my childhood.
Oh, yeah, just
film
one
viewing.
guy just
They
died.
still haven't. They didn't get to the end of Gravity. But they still haven't.
Really?
watched it. No.
Oh, it's very tense.
It's
though,
very
isn't it?
kind of
Very
stressful.
tense.
All right, so you.
But so my
Right.
Requel, pretty much the same film from the start. That gets the Mogwai, turns into the Gremlin, and it's all kind of very much the same feel until Stripe gets to the swimming pool, because we saw like a half a glass of water on Mogwai was like 5 new Gremlins.
Yeah.
So I'm like, a swimming pool, you've got to do the math. You've got to keep the film
That's right.
logic correct.
Millions.
Yes, it's not hundreds, it's not thousands, it's millions.
That's a swarm. That's
It's like it
Is that how it works?
explodes.
Because there's only a maximum surface area of a gremlin to get wet.
Well, but they're in the pool, and once they're wet, it explodes, and all those ones get wet, and it's like
Beg your pardon?
it's
They call
like
it
a chain
Gremlins.
reaction.
You're absolutely
And,
correct. I do apologise.
It just
Thank you.
swells into a mountain.
one of those gremlins,
I mean,
another 5 come off, and then another 5,
Yeah.
another 5, another 5.
Yeah, because they don't have to. They're instant.
They're
aren't
instant,
they?
because
Off
Gremlins
the
are instant,
Gremlins,
yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, if we were using real numbers, if a gremlin were to fall in it, then once you've gone, that makes 5, which each of those makes 5, each of those makes 5. By about 16 turns of that, the Earth is
covered in gremlins.
I mean,
I'm going to go swimming pool like a mountain high.
Yeah.
Snow. The ones on the top instantly freeze to death. It's that high. About 50% of the gremlins instantly die because they're just crushed by the weight of the other gremlins.
But the rest of them are swarming
They swarm off
down.
them, so it's Gremlin Mountain with these
like
monsters.
one of the actually good bits from the Alien versus Predator, where all the aliens come out of the big pyramid thing.
I haven't seen it, so I'll take your word for it.
Like a tsunami of gremlins.
It's tsunami, yes.
It's a good bit because there are no people in it.
Okay.
That's generally the rule for AVP as far as I'm concerned.
There's just the massive shift in air causes kind of weather destruction throughout the region. There's hurricane, rain. there's a nightmare of an evening as these gremlins swarm over the country, killing and pillaging as they go.
It's like Lovecraftian, this
Yes,
level
it's an
of
apocalypse.
despair and hopelessness.
And then as the sun rises, this mountain of dead gremlins turns into like a tsunami.
Proper tsunami.
Big goo and bones washes over the eastern seaboard, killing millions.
And then contaminates all of the sea.
Yes, and but there's always one or two gremlins that survive. Get to the next town, get to the next swimming pool. So it just infects the world.
Yeah. So all sort of major bodies of water go on lockdown with like the army.
Yeah, it's too little, too late.
It's just not
crumbled. There's
And you're going to show that one to the kids, yeah?
That's the one. Say, look, if you thought Gremlins was bad, it's just to make
Look
the
at my
first film
remake.
look not so bad.
If you
That's the horror movie. I like it, yeah.
If you really want to mess your kids up, get them the Nicolas Cage film.
I don't think that
Mom
was
and
his
Dad.
goal.
If you really do, get them the Nicolas Cage film, Mom and Dad. Seriously.
Mom and Dad?
Yeah, it's just great.
That.
Look at it. It's basically there's an outbreak of some kind of virus which makes parents try to kill their own children,
I've heard of that,
and then hire that, and then say, kids, I'm going to watch this. Is a film about how we really feel about it,
and then sneeze every so often.
That's a PG.
Oh, must be coming down with something.
So funny. You've got to see it. It's really good.
Right, excellent. Okay.
Yeah, that's basically it.
All right.
Kind of ends up like The Road, just an apocalyptic.
It's just Billy Peltzer.
Billy and Billy trying to survive.
At the end, that's another fine mess you're going to be into.
Just pushing a trolley at the end of it.
Bitter. Right, my requel. Mine's quite simple, really. A shady businessman steals Gizmo from Chinatown and gets him wet. Don't know how.
You're very vague on the details.
Spits on him.
These
Jizz on him.
key plot point. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, we'll figure that.
You've got to stop letting these people off.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I didn't ask any questions.
It begins to sell mogwai to every household in the world. And this results in gremlins forming everywhere, basically. A bit like yours was there.
Does he finish selling them to every house?
Sells them all.
She said he begins, but you know.
Yeah, begins to sell them and it finishes.
He does finish.
Yeah. So it's a movie, so there's a bit of time for him to do that.
Oh, there's enough for billions of houses.
6 months later.
Yeah, 6
every
months
household's
later.
got
And
one.
then basically it's just the military versus gremlins. That's it. It's a big battle.
Gremlins.
But it's
Sorry now.
I don't know if
What do you call it? That one with the big bugs in space.
Starship
Starship
Troopers.
Troopers. It's like that.
Yeah.
With
Everything
gremlins.
comes back to Starship Troopers.
everything.
We've
got
got a lot of chats about Starship
Dwayne The Rock
We should
Johnson.
do Starship
Troopers.
Troopers.
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson playing Gizmo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Squeak, squeak.
For Dom, you know.
Yeah.
He always has.
Yum yum.
Of course.
Raises his eyebrow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, he says it. He says,
I think Gizmo
all
was
it- all right,
cooking
we'll have it
after
that-
midnight.
all he can
not fucking
say.
eyebrows anymore.
All he can say is yum yum, but he says it like Groot in thingy. It's
Yeah.
got different intonation.
Yum yum. Yum yum.
Yum yum.
Is this an animatronic Dwayne one?
Is what, sorry?
Is he animatronic?
An animatronic Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
You don't
So he
even
can
get
do his
Finally,
eyebrow
one
even
that will
higher
be-
than usual.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Let's do that.
Be
Yeah.
able
Why
to
not?
act.
Yeah, that's
Let's
it.
do that.
Don't you start chatting shit about Dwayne The Rock
No,
Johnson.
I love The Rock.
Why? Is he your dad? Will you kick my head in?
Yeah, there's no wrong with the Dwayne The Rock Johnson film. Tell
I
you
think
what,
it's
Rampage.
Oh, have you seen it?
Yeah,
It's a different podcast.
absolute shite. Butter. Fucking love him.
But shite that you can eat.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, give me more of that.
There's nothing I like more than edible shite.
Right, let's get to these recaps. All right, it's time for the recaps. So let's start with Abby down the end. So your prequel.
My prequel was Hanson's Hindsight. It was about the high school science teacher that Billy looks to for scientific answers to Gizmo's existence.
Yes.
We find out in the 60s he's a young man trying to make himself in the science career. Didn't have a dad in his life growing up. He wants to make the perfect dad. Here's the reason why, you know, Kate's dad was born and then not born anymore.
Right.
And then he also is the conception of Mr. Peltzer.
Okay.
With his embryotic science. And then he's also, that's how Kingston's Falls was born. He got out of control. Created a whole town. with its mad
of
cap
genetic
science.
dads.
Yep, genetic dads. Okay, Noel, your prequel?
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, crossover thing.
You're playing the, I've referenced a better film.
Yeah. Okay, mine was WW2, soldier stumbles across a mysterious box, blah, 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 blah. They have a big battle, no man's land, and then you find out...
It's like borrowed from the First World War.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to tie in with... and then, you find out it's, what's his face? At the end, Futterman.
Yeah.
Which I, obviously,
Twist.
Tom's is better. Your prequel was...
Gremlins, Murray Futterman's War. WW2 Japanese have the Gizmo after they got him off of Futterman when they captured him. He's special forces. He breaks out. Gremlins everywhere. Gremlin in here, gremlin in there. Blah blah blah. Oh yum yum yum, all that shit. And then they work it all out how to do it. He phones I command Hiroshima, and then there's the sequence afterwards where they make him think he's mental.
Yeah. Okay, Eddie?
Mine is the story of Dr. Phil Catheter. And his Schnauzer St. Bernard splicing his brief period in the proto-SAS in the Second World War, which could actually tie into either of yours if you just wanted to have Phil as like a sort of a guest character. Just go, I wonder if we'll ever meet him again, as he goes off collecting little bottles of disease.
Right.
Parents die of rabies, which is why he already has rabies.
Okay, so that's the prequel recap. So we need to pick a one we think was the best. So what do we think? I'm going to pick Tom's, me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very well thought out.
I like Tom's. I like the sort of the Stepford approach.
Yeah, I
Abby
like
took.
Stepford Dads
Yeah,
as well.
I like that.
Kind of
That's my
between
close
Tom
second,
and-
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Stepford Dads.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go for the Stepford Dads.
I'm gonna go Stepford.
Oh.
as well.
I'd go for Dr. Catheter.
Oh.
I like the sort of Vincent Price-esque.
Yeah.
So what are you
Yeah,
No one
going
else has
for?
gone for that, so that's a waste of a vote.
And
It doesn't matter.
Well,
do you know democracy?
I'm going to go for that one
It's
as
a two-horse
well.
race.
Oh, so
It's a stalemate situation.
that is a stalemate situation. Got stalemate. Right,
Casting vote?
Abby, we're going to go for yours.
Oh, I am
You're the
honoured.
guest as well. We'll
Is
give
that-
you,
is
we'll
it
give
just
you
a
that.
fucking one of them? Then?
No.
Yeah,
It was a good. It was. I was between you two for that one. So
To be fair, I don't think the guests on this show have.
they don't get any
have
favours.
done
They do not get.
particularly well when it
We
comes
all
to
know
getting guest
Noel's one
stuff.
because his
Yeah.
film's actually made Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's out there on DVD and Blu-ray.
Right. So let's do the sequel. So what was your sequel again?
My sequel was a body swap with starring Catherine O'Hara, and she swaps bodies with the female gremlin, or Gigi, as we've learnt from
that's
Eddie.
what I call it, yeah.
They bump shoulder pads in the city, and they swap lives, and they
Yep.
have to understand what it's like to be each other in their sort of equally crushing marriages.
Very good.
And then afterwards, Catherine O'Hara, as a lawyer, starts to fight for Gremlins' rights.
Okay. Excellent. No.
Heartwarming, charming, Gremlins love story, Pacific Islands, cute, lovely, until it ends in a horrific pissing scene at the end.
Oh yeah, Mogwai
Yeah.
water sports.
Got it.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it starts off child fantasy and it ends the sex
With
scene
Noel's
from Team
fantasy.
America.
Call
Team America Foxtrot.
it a grom-com, like a gross romantic.
Mine was Clamp Corners. 30 years later, they're running Giz Corps merchandising. He's got a comic book and an animation show. All's well until an employee nicks he nicks the Mogwai, feeds after midnight. Terror in the city.
Lenny who nicks it, isn't it?
Yeah, Lenny. We call him that now. I'll add that later. And Billy, Kate and Gizmo have to save the day. What was yours?
Mine was Gremlins in space. One small step from Mogwai. One giant leap for Gremlins. It's a really long tagline. Daniel Clamp's built New Kingston Falls Clamp Corners, but on the moon. Billy, or Bilky as I'd written. Bilky's now 50 odd, goes to see it, texts Gizmo.
Oh, come on,
Shit
Mogwai.
happens. The gremlins get out. Oh, gremlin in here, gremlin in there. Oh, yum, gremlin in everywhere. And then, dark side
Your
of the
stage
moon.
directions for
Yeah.
Gremlins are amazing.
That's
by
it.
the way.
Gremlin, action, gremlin. Ooh, all over the
Are they
place.
actioning, are they?
Yeah, they're actioning everywhere.
Oh, good.
Daniel Clamp has to sneak off, go to the other side, spin the moon using a rocket, get it into the sun because it's fake sunlight that they've got, so the gremlins can just run a fucking mock.
Which they do best.
Which they do best.
Yeah, okay.
Not good when the atmosphere is going to come in.
No. Right.
My sequel is the lo-fi kitchen sink slice of life gentle comedy, The Royal Family with Forster and Gigi, with one human child who's a very woke SJW type.
Rita, Sue and Mogwai too.
Yeah, not far. Bit less practicing sex, bit more cups of tea and fags, which are cigarettes for our American viewers.
Well, they also won't know what the royal family is probably.
Sorry, our American viewer.
Just to make you feel special, American viewer.
When he was talking about the royal family, he didn't mean the royal family. He meant another family called the Royals.
With an E.
With ROYLE, the royal family. Not that royal family, that royal family.
It was an envelope pushing sitcom.
It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, they weren't pushing envelopes.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it in America because
it's pushing the envelope of what.
No, don't say that.
TV.
That's detracting from American viewers. They'll take insult if you say
no,
you won't get it.
You're right. You can try it, but I don't
Try it, but you won't like it.
It was
all of a
not
lower
for you.
I mean, America is the nation that gave us, Seinfeld.
I feel like we're sidetracking. Let's should we get back on with what we're...
important, right? America gave us the.
It's not that important. It's not 20 minutes conversation important.
But Seinfeld is the sitcom about nothing. The Royal Family is literally about nothing, but about so much more. So that's what happens is we've got a slice of life, sort of realistic, neo-realism kitchen sink thing with Forster and Gigi with their two teenage children, one of whom's a Mogwai, one of whom is a person.
Okay, we need to pick what we thought was our favourite.
Toss up between yours, Chris, and
Really?
yours, Eddie.
Really?
I picked one of you two.
I was leaning towards yours. I
I'd go for mine because it goes.
Can't go for
It follows the theme. It follows the
We
theme.
discussed this before, Tom. You can't pick
Can
your
you
own.
not pick your own?
They're
Alright.
more like
Mine
what it
follows
would
the-
be.
yeah.
And also Gremlins 1. Gremlins 2 is just Gremlins 1 again. And I think
yeah, but Gremlins
like,
3 would just be Gremlins again.
Exactly, so that's why I like the two of yours.
I'm
I quite
gonna-
like the background you've given to where are they now,
Yeah.
sort of. So I'm going to go with Chris for me.
I'm going to vote for Chris because I think that one.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, because Chris's is the most direct sequel, and they should always stick to the formula, which is where they went wrong with Die Hard.
Yes.
Because the third Die Hard doesn't stick to the formula. It should have happened.
I like
at
the
Christmas.
third Die
It's
Hard.
a good film, but it should have been terrorists at Christmas. That was the theme they had set up for two films, and then they went, no, we're going to get rid of that. It should have been John McClane thwarting terrorists at Christmas.
Rule of three, mate.
4 and 5, they don't go back to Christmas.
No, they don't. That's why they fucked it up. They were all shit after that.
Four
Should have been.
We'll do a...
Look how Bond
bad.
it works.
Four's not bad.
Whose votes have we had?
No, 4 is
I've got to try and raise him.
So I vote for you.
I'm going to go for
I'm going to vote for Eddie. Waste my vote.
I was going to pick
Vote
yours.
for Eddie is a vote wasted.
I was going to pick yours because of the you get to see a bit of the Mogwai line.
That's true, the
I do
origins.
like that.
Do like that
But-
as well.
I'm going to go for Chris.
All right.
Looks like you're a winner.
Okay.
No, I like that.
Thank you. Right, let's do the requels then. Abby, what did you have for that?
My requels is Gremlins versus Wall Street. Wall Street have fucked everyone over financially,
Yep.
and so they're the new people. They've got this kind of species to hate. The only way to sort of get an even playing field is the Wall Street basketball team have to versus the Gremlins basketball team.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks and Will Smith are a power couple, called back in to train the Gremlins. Mogwai has to go against his grain a little bit and become a gremlin to help them win.
Yeah.
It's got a great soundtrack, and everybody close to the music industry makes a cameo.
What more can you ask for?
998 as well, just thinking.
Nine.
Swings anybody's vote.
An extra cameo there. Madonna looking a little out of place.
Yeah.
Still wearing,
Perfect for
Madonna's in
1998.
still wearing
Yeah.
her dress from Dick Tracy.
Oh, I like that.
And I think a tender moment with David Essex just singing to them. Yeah.
That does sound.
Hold me close, don't let me grow.
nice.
Come on, that's where we're getting to with this one.
Oh, bridge over troubled water with a bit of a...
Oh yeah.
It's troubled water when they get anywhere near it. Hey, up! You
Bridge
what?
over the river Mogwai. Different film.
What have I done? What have I done?
Alec Guinness. Right. Go on, Noel. Your requel.
My requel was Gremlin Apocalypse, basically.
Yes. With the pile of mountain of gremlins.
Oh, yeah,
Melting.
spreading over the world.
Just when you thought it was safe.
Infected.
Well, I think it's a reflection of what might happen.
It's like one of them Ellie Roth ones that you like. It's like an allegory for like oil.
Well, it is an allegory for oil, yeah.
Right.
An allegory for the destruction of the sea by plastics. That's what it is.
Right, mine was a shady businessman steals Gizmo from Chinatown and gets him wet. He spits on him. He begins to sell mogwai to every household in the world. And then he finishes selling them to everyone. And then, finishes off. As he does.
Don't pretend.
And then this results in Gremlins forming everywhere, basically military versus Gremlins, starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Gizmo. Requel.
Mine was bad CGI first, Eli Roth, torture porn, extreme violence for no reason, some gremlins in it. Gremlin in here, gremlin in there. Oh, they're all gremlin everywhere. Yum, yum, yum.
That's going to have a beat behind it soon and be like a tune.
That's it.
In Luke Cage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right.
All
Eddie, your requel?
Mine is The Only Way is Kingston Falls. It's a sort of vapid, pointless reality TV version. The rules are don't expose them to sunbeds, booze makes them reproduce, and no carbs before marbs. And they all get killed and the country prospers as a result.
Okay. Right, what do we think?
It's a mean-spirited one, but
What are we going for? I think
for sheer grimness, I like Noel.
I'm going for Noel.
I like Noel.
It's
I like
the end.
The relentless.
The real end.
I like the fact that they change. You think it's all over, and then they change into the flood of.
I mean,
that's
gremlin juice.
That's
Just-
genius. You could see the sun coming up, going like,
Well, that's it. Yeah, when the sun.
it'd be
just
great.
little bits of steam start coming off.
And they go, it's over. And they go, oh, hold on a minute. What is that movement? And
Yeah.
whoa.
The end, actually.
Because then you've got
Powerful.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
powerful,
Powerful cinema right
That's
there.
what I see, yeah.
And it would just bring everyone in, you know?
It is that relentless absence of hope that is just so nihilist.
So attractive.
Yeah. So
The end
horny.
credits could have like a world map on it, you know, like the end of Contagion, where you see the contagion spreading across the world,
right,
but you
right.
can see the
It could be like the Universal logo when they did Waterworld.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Gremlins good.
Gremlins in
Warner
Waterworld.
Brothers. Warner
Oh
Brothers.
God!
Yeah, Gremlins in Waterworld. Fucking hell.
Right,
Tearing yourself.
forget my recall. Fuck that one off.
Yeah, but that'd very quickly be just all the world would just
Yeah,
get
yeah,
covered with gremlins, all the water would be absorbed.
All the water would just be gremlin mush.
Yeah.
Well, it'd just be a cycle of
I am, I'm
gremlins
frightened
getting
now.
wet.
Lovely little
from
sequence of
dissolved
Kevin
gremlins.
Costner swimming through gremlin juice.
And it will cost 3 times the what it costs.
Well, we've come to the end of Gremlins.
Can I give you some outtakes?
we didn't choose a
They're just-
recall.
We didn't choose
We
a
haven't even chosen.
Oh, is it not?
Just did it.
Oh, no.
Oh, we did choose no.
It's
All
not.
right.
We're just too
Have
excited.
you been?
How quickly we forget.
I know.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I just came up with Waterworld meets Gremlins, and
Oh, you want a recount, do you?
No, not
Some of
at
them.
all. Not
What
at
did
all.
you have?
I was
You
just,
got some-
there's titles that I went through.
Oh,
I just wanted
nice.
to give you get into the mind of a movie
Oh,
executive
we've got
when they're
special
just like
features.
Yeah.
throwing yellow bits of paper into the bin.
Go on, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's-
So we had Gremlins Jailbreak. We had Why Mogwai, Matt Why, but then I submerged that into Gremlins versus Casper.
Oh,
Gremlins, Graham Harder.
you'd like
Being
that.
Mogwai. Christmas with the Mogwais. Bring back that Christmas. Fast Times at Mogwai High.
Yeah.
Because Judge Reinhold and Phoebe Cates are in Fast Times at whatever.
Oh, and she takes her bikini off. Oh!
I mean, I watched that film and thought it was really shit.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a high school version of the Gremlins.
Do you know they nearly didn't cast her for Gremlins because of that film?
Yeah, they thought she was a bit racy.
Yeah, she's a bit too cheeky.
Who's that? Phoebe Cates?
Yeah.
Oh, what's she in?
Fast Times Original Night, she takes the bikini off and everybody's like, oh.
Tom makes a note.
Yeah, you'll have to check that out. And Judge Reinhold's having a bit of a fumble watching her.
Yeah, and Judge Reynolds in Gremlins.
Yeah.
As a
He's meant to be a
looked
lot
like
bigger. He
respect-
got a lot of his part cut out. He's meant to be a much bigger role.
There's a deleted scene
In-
where he's
in
locked in.
Gremlins?
Yeah,
Did
he's locked in safe in Gremlins. Yeah.
Shit.
Anyway,
The Mogfather.
the
Wait,
you got more.
The Mogfather.
The Mogfather.
And then Mogwai, game over.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
You
we're
could
done.
do one. Just start. What it's all it starts. It's Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart. It's like existential 2-man thing, waiting for Gizmo.
Oh.
So we're going on the
Nothing to be done.
we're on the theatre circuit.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to come to that
Yeah.
conclusion myself.
Right, we better call it a
better
day.
shut
We
it
better wrap
down.
it up.
Yeah.
Right, we'll say goodbye. Thank you for watching the Gremlins special. Say goodbye, Tom. That was
Bye.
good. Didn't wave.
See ya.
Bye. Bye, bye, Billy.
Bye-bye, Billy.
Prequel, establish the law.